And here we go. We are set to go. Just a quick refresher. We haven't done one of these in a little while. So anyone in the audience, Hannibal has been under strict instructions that he's not allowed to look at the chat. So he is not ignoring you. But if you do have any questions, because what I find when I have a conversation with Hannibal Hills is that I have a lot of questions because he just bombards you with these ideas and bits of wisdom that you never even thought of thinking of.
That's all.
And all of a sudden, you've got questions. So if you do, throw them in the chat. I will bring them to Hannibal throughout the call. And this is going to be a great evening. I'm so glad you could all join me. I'd like to, cloud recording is on. Let me make sure. Okay. I would like to introduce Hannibal Hills. Hannibal is beloved by all of us in the audiobook community already, but I've got to tell you, I didn't like him when I first heard of him. Oh, this is the first time you're hearing this,
It
Hannibal.
is.
I thought, oh, great. What is this guy doing? Here we are all in our befuddled little way trying to reach out to writers, and this guy is going and making all the competition. So now they're all going to know the secret, and I won't be able to the one part that I'm good at. And then he had on his website this book me for a free hour, and we'll consult and we can talk about royalty share.
Mm.
And I learned so much. It was like 5 coaching sessions in 1 hour for
Oh.
free, which I did think, oh, this guy's missing a count here, but we'll get into that later. That did come up. But I decided Hannibal Hills is my friend. I am going to sing his praises from the rooftop. And then when I
Oh.
tried Sleuthy, and realized how much easier it made my life. It got rid of all the insecurity and the what if I'm missing something going on to Amazon looking for indie writers. And it really, really helped me curate my process. And also, it came at a time in my career where we all have our little, oh God, am I booking enough? And I met Hannibal Hills at just the right time. And I had the best year recording, most successful, both with publishers and indie writers I'd ever had after having met you. And I credit your dose of positivity. You really, really, when you talk to a person, you literally try to channel your eagerness and enthusiasm through to the other person, and it's contagious. And you have come up with two, you guys. Can I just challenge you? All you people that are sitting on social media whining about AI and the competition and things are hard, blah, blah, blah. Hannibal's been sitting there in his little basement coming up with 2 new, innovative, unbelievable ideas that are going to help us all. So let's just jump right into the good stuff. Tell me first, I want to know, let's start with the first idea and tell me what made you think of it. Paint the picture for me. Give us the scoop.
All
We'll be
right. Well,
and you guys will be the first to hear it here. You in the audience that showed up live. You'll
that's
be,
true. All this stuff's
yeah.
been seen. Well, look, I've got to respond to that introduction. I'm almost in tears. That was so lovely. Thank you. And now we're such good friends. I'm so glad you didn't carry on hating me.
I'm
But
so much of a better person because I know you. I'm
oh,
smarter. I'm classier. I'm a better girl.
oh, you were
I
all
am.
those things long before me.
And I
So,
don't hate you anymore. I stopped hating you the minute I jumped on the free consultation call.
oh, I get it with Sleuthy though. I almost didn't share it. I know I've told this people this before. When I turned it on, which was 3 years ago this month, when I actually because it were 3 iterations of Sleuthy. I hope everyone here knows what Sleuthy is. If not, I can give like a 30 second on what it is.
Well, we'll do this bit, and then
Um,
before you jump into your first idea, jump into a quick summary of
Right.
Sleuthy. Let's start from the first to the first, second, and third
Yeah.
ideas. But yeah, tell me about the because then you started advertising it right after I found out about Sleuthy and did really well with it. Suddenly Hannibal's jumping on all these my friends' podcasts.
Yeah, here it is. This
Really?
is
Do
what it
you really
does.
want to have him? Are you sure you want to have him? It's like,
Oh,
Hannibal, could you just shut up
about
about
Sleuthy.
it?
Well, yeah. So, all right. So, very quickly on Sleuthy, 3 years ago,
Yes.
this was like the third iteration of Sleuthy. I had this problem. I always, from beginning my career, I preferred working with indie authors, small projects, that kind of thing. Going out and talking to the author directly and making a deal and doing royalty share or licensing, things like that. I like that. But finding the books was really, really hard. And I thought, well, there must be a way to do this because Amazon is not designed for going and finding books that don't have audiobooks and meet
No.
criteria. So there's got to be a way to do this. So I tried building the first system and it completely failed. And then I sat and I meditated on it and I built a second version and that failed too. I feel like, this like
But
swamp
why
castle
did
that
it
failed as
fail?
well.
Like how did
The
it
approach
fail?
didn't work. There are various ways to approach the data. For instance, Amazon has several versions of what it calls APIs, so like where you connect to Amazon's back-end system through a business connection, and the Amazon data exists in various different formats. And I tried various different approaches, going through various different ways to get at the data that Amazon publicly and gives to businesses and things like that. And behind the scenes, a lot of this data is a real mess. If you actually look at Amazon systems under the surface, Amazon started off as a bookstore, and the data underneath it is all kind of like been very quickly built on that structure, but it's incredibly messy and there's a lot of like redundant, there's loads of like dead categories, dead fields. The data is just a complete mess, and the system for connecting to it is also just absolutely terrible. It just like a lot of things are kind of with a company that grows that fast. It's just terrible. So the first system just didn't work. Second system, I tried a different approach, almost like the reverse approach, and that didn't work. And then the third system, I'm not going to tell you how Sleuthy works underneath, but yeah, it worked. And I pressed the button, and at the time, all Sleuthy was just a screen that would just list what it was finding, and it just started listing these ASINs, these like product numbers for books that it had found that didn't have audiobooks. And I
Wow.
went, holy cow, this is doing what used to take me hours. It's just going and finding them. And but I almost didn't share it because I thought, well, I'm going to keep this secret and this will be my secret like
But you're
source
you're
no one knows
doing it
about.
again. You're sharing the knobs and buttons and levers behind it, and somebody else is going to go on rip Sleuthy off.
Ah,
How
no,
are you this trusting?
well, for Sleuthy, there's only a small market, right? There's only audiobook narrators, and there's only audiobook narrators that want to do prospecting, right? So that's not like a big market that people, there's not hundreds of thousands of those people within the audiobook community. There's only a small percentage that wants to do prospecting, and so it would be pointless for anyone to spend the time figuring out
And
what I
and
do,
that's
right?
what I didn't understand when you were sharing it, that it wasn't as dire as I thought every single narrator, when they find out about this, they're all going to swarm to it. But what I found
Right.
was they would join Sleuthy and then they would see me with this caged animal look on in their eyes. And
Well, it's not for everybody. I mean,
yeah,
it's and I think in the early days, people really didn't understand what it was, which is really what it is. It finds books,
yeah.
and it sorts through those books. Think about the thousands of books that are released every month on Amazon, right? Because it uses Amazon now. It also samples Goodreads for certain amounts of data, and most of those books are terrible, or no offense to the authors, but and or they're just completely unsuitable for audio. They're comic books, or they're puzzle books, or they're diaries, and so what I needed to do was grab the books and really sort out basically, so it has all these criteria that it then filters out, and then when it gets through the criteria, it populates the system so you can see these books. And then but people don't necessarily, a lot of audiobook narrators, and fair enough, just want to work with big publishers. Like they want Tantalk given books, they record the books, they submit the books, they get paid, rinse and repeat, and that's what they
Yeah,
want to
because you
do.
still have to send a letter to the writer. You still have to show up
Right,
business-like, but still yourself. You have to do the part that some people hate doing. That
right.
is, yeah.
Which there's actually, I think there's an art to, and I used to coach this because when I first started doing it, again from we learn from failure. So I started approaching authors 6 7 years ago now, really seriously, and I made tons of mistakes. I didn't know what I was doing, and I licensed books that were complete lemons because I hadn't. I like look at that. I like the cover, or oh, that's the genre. It just looks fun, right? Which is the big mistake is going, oh, it just looks fun. I'll license that, and then of course it sells like 5 copies,
Yeah,
and
that's me.
if you're lucky,
Ooh, Twisted
mm,
Psycho on the cover. Had
right.
sold one copy 10 years ago, but oh my God, look at that cover.
Exactly. It's about space worms. I'll do that, right? Oh, it's got a gnome in it because I like narrating gnome characters and or old ladies and gnomes, even better. And so just don't sell, right? And so
Yeah.
so um so I made tons and tons of mistakes reaching out to authors, and I figured out I do actually have, because you and I have talked about it. I have kind of a secret approach, which is actually the opposite to I'm not going to give it away because I think I'm
Yes,
going to do
don't
a
give it
webinar about
away.
this. But what I have done recently is so I package up this knowledge when I can, and what I've done recently finally is put out the first of these sort of training videos, and it's an hour and a quarter, and I call it the audiobook success matrix. And what that is, that's all the lessons I've learned about how to pick a book that actually is worth doing royalty share, right? Because obviously, if you're doing PFH, like, I mean, you don't, to a certain extent, you don't really care, right? I mean, the book can be, it could be like travel is a really bad selling genre, right? Travel books for some reason. You could do a travel book. I've done travel books for money. And I actually know of people who've done, like dictionaries for money and just nonsense, but you don't care. But if you've got a stake in the game, you need to, like now, no book is a guaranteed winner, right? Unless you're Mel Robbins or somebody, right? But so there's always risk. And in fact, one of the things that a lot of people I don't think understand about publishing is most publishing houses, most of the books they publish fail. It's like most television production companies or film production companies or music companies. Most 99% of what they put out, I mean, maybe not quite that much, but a lot of it, like 95% at least of what they put out, is utter failure. And it's the small winners that pay for all of that. The same is true in theatre. If you go to a small theatre company, if they're
Yeah,
like an artistic theatre company,
yeah.
then they'll have 2 shows a year that just do great, usually the Christmas show and or a comedy or something, and then that pays for them doing all the artistic stuff that only 5 people want to see, right? So in publishing, a lot of things fail, but you can tilt the scale by looking at the factors. So the audiobook success matrix is like an hour and a quarter of, and I've done a companion ebook with it because of course,
I'm
and
going to interject here.
yeah.
The one thing I thought of when I listened to the audiobook Success Matrix is all those years, and I'm sure it's different now, but I think people are still searching for the information when they first join as audiobook narrators. But some of the more old school narrators will know what I'm talking about here. When you go on when you're new and you join some of those big audiobook groups, and
Mm.
that's where you learned other new people's questions, and then like all the experts arguing with each other about the proper answer, and all the not knowing until you think you're going crazy that you don't actually know what the answer is, and you feel like and all these
Yeah.
people seem to be so smart because they all know what they're,
It's
and
subjective.
a lot of them are genuinely trying to help, but the you succinctly give all that information, and it's not an ego driven, this is what I think because I'm the big, you know, I'm the big
No. Well,
I
this
am.
is sort of, I
It's
mean,
just facts.
science.
These are the facts you
Yeah.
need. Look at the numbers. This is your best statistical chance to do this. And it's such a calm, lovely way. Like if I was a new
Thank
narrator,
you.
not even new. If I was new to the royalty share process and not already making a lot of money on it, I highly recommend. And I'm not just saying that because I think Hannibal's the bee's knees. I'm saying that because my brain felt calm listening to it. It
Oh,
was,
well, that's lovely. Thank
it's
you.
what you learn on all the groups, but without the drama and
Well,
angst.
now, a lot of this came from questions. In fact, there was one major question that was raised in a group online, and it actually spawned that whole matrix idea. I call it a matrix because it's actually like a grid of a couple of major factors, and within those are minor factors. So it's like a sort of a square grid. That's why it's a matrix. It's not just me being like, oh, it's got a fancy term. The question that spawned it was somebody asked in one of the groups, "What's the best-selling genre of audiobook?" And nobody really knew. I didn't know. I mean, we all had a guess. We were all like, well, it's probably romance, isn't it? Or, you know, thrillers maybe or something. And I thought, well, that's not really good enough, is it? I mean, because a lot of the time when you intuit something, um, intuition can be wrong. So I sat down that following weekend and I got all the available information on rankings that is available from Audible, and I plugged it into a system, and then I did an analysis on it, like a mathematical analysis on it. And then you can read this if you go to getsleuthy.com and go to the blog. I've done this now for 3 years, and it's really fascinating actually now because it's got trends. And you can see like absolutely it's factual. It's not a guess. It's like this is literally what sells most and what sells least. And
But that's the problem with social media because it's not presented as factual. It's all tied up with ego and everyone's what
yeah,
they need
everyone's
to be
opinion.
perceived as on social media. Everyone's got an agenda, even a
Yeah.
good agenda. A lot of people are just trying to help and share because
Right.
they remember. But whatever the agenda is, it's nice to be able to just cut through to the facts. Kim says some of my best sellers are extreme horror. And
Yes.
that's what I wonder because my thrillers don't sell as well as the few paranormal sci-fi I've done, but I always hear thrillers are better selling.
Right. Now, this is where it becomes interesting. Okay. So, because genre, yes, that's important, but it's only one factor. And there's lots of that's why it's a matrix. There's lots and lots of factors. So for instance, another question that I had when I started out was what how does the sales, how does the ebook sales affect the audiobook sales? I'd contacted authors before and I'd said, okay, so what's the correlation between your ebook sales and your audiobook sales? So you would think that a high selling ebook automatically means a high selling audiobook, right? You would think that there's a very strong correlation. But I actually was able, I actually paid some poor person 2 days to collect some information for me, right? I went on Fiverr and said, I need a person just to literally go and gather this information. And then we gathered it together over a couple of days and we took ebooks of all these different genres. And then we got the audiobooks of those genres and we looked at their performance and we figured out we did like a what was it called, a regression analysis, and figured out exactly what percentage of the audiobook ranking is the ebook ranking. And watch the video if you want to know what the answer is. But
Yes.
it isn't as much as you'd think. And so there are lots of other factors as well. Things like, you know, the cover, things like uh, the author, right? So all these things interplay, and they've all got different sort of like weights within that system. But you very quickly learn to go, okay, so if I'm looking at it, like I could look at a listing on Amazon now, and within 10 seconds, I could go, oh, yeah, that's a good bet, or that's a bad bet. I mean, that's that literally, I've got it so much now because I've been working with Sleuthy and that I could say, oh yeah, that I would apply to record that, or I would not apply to record that. A red or green decision very, very quickly. And because it's not really that complicated. There are factors, but yes, extreme horror. Now, for instance, I used to think so horror is a fascinating genre. I've recorded a lot of horror, love doing horror. And I've been working with a horror author called Lee Mountford for a very, very long time. My fifth book was with Lee. I've done over 200 now. And Lee and I've done all his books. And when he first started out, he used to do extreme horror, like really, really gore. I mean, like I turn white, turn your hair white, gore. And he shifted to doing supernatural horror because he found that the supernatural horror books were selling 5 times more than the extreme horror. There's a no, I'm not going to tell that story because it's a terrible story. But a lot of that is not just genre. It's also, Lee grew as he runs it like a business. He engages. He writes to market. Writing to market is a really important thing. There probably is a an equivalent like narrating to market, but that's different. But it's
There is definitely an equivalent,
yeah,
and it's a
because
struggle I have.
it's tricky, right? I mean, I think I have a little bit more to say later on about the right narrating to market versus just be you. But I'm digressing from Sleuthy. So Sleuthy basically is it takes those books and it does that. And I right at the beginning I thought, do I share this? And then I thought, well, yeah, because people need this. I've one of the things I've hated since I've been a narrator is maybe I shouldn't say this, but I hate corporations. I hate big businesses that treat us like workers in the mill. And no company epitomizes that more than Audible. Audible treats us like we literally are the children chained to the loom 16 hours a day as far as they're concerned, and they will squeeze us for everything they can squeeze out of us. And they're not alone in that. There's lots of companies like that, right? I mean, it's how things are, and it's how things have been for a very long time. But I don't
But
like that.
every corporation, in a way, you and I share the rock star gene. In a way, you're very much a rock star in your kind of battle against the corporate deadening of the brain, and I feel like a rock star in my rebellion against so is what you say about sleuthy and what I said my concern when you were like sharing sleuthy everyone I just discovered it was I had to remind myself that when I was in corporate jobs every single time they'd make a change and new people would want to join everyone would be like cannibalism like wanting to kill and murder the new person we hate them and the thing is I never hated the new person because I always assumed and this is how I felt when COVID hit as well 100% people freaked out. Well, these people are going to go in their closet and they're going to take our jobs and talk into a
Right, all these
crappy
theatre actors.
microphone. I've never been that person because
No.
I thought if you're willing to do your job and learn, then you're me. You're
Right.
me just a year or two before. And that is honestly how I feel about Sleuthy and what I realized the minute it came out. I was, and I think Kim will back me on this, telling every single human being that would listen exactly how they should passing on Hannibal's wisdom. So I say, "Oh, Hannibal, why are you sharing?" But I was singing it from the rooftops
Wow.
because when they would look like, "Oh God, I can't do it, I can't do it," and then I would say, "Do this, do that, do this," and they still wouldn't do it, then fine. So the people that aren't going to value it are not going to do it. And the people that
Right.
do it deserve it. I don't care how
Right.
late you join the game. If you're
It's not
doing
for
it, you
everyone, but
deserve it.
if you've got the a bit like entrepreneurialism isn't running your own
Yeah.
business, being someone who works in a sealed box alone all the time is not for everybody, right? I mean, if you crave human comfort, then and I think that was why during COVID, a lot of us people who are massive introverts who work in booths all the time, we were like, well, what's the difference, right? This
I
is
was
how we've
like,
all been
what
living.
is wrong with you people?
This is fine. And all the people who did musical theatre were like, no, we're going to die. So it's but the corporate thing, right? So what I wanted to do with Sleuthy was empower other people to
Yeah.
break the chains, right? That
Your
is me,
rock
right?
star,
I'm
your
I mean
rebellion.
I grew up in a like a left wing environment. I'm a socialist. I know it's a terrible word in America, but I am. And I believe, power to the worker. And so I want to make it easy for narrators to break the audible chains, especially with what's going on now, where they're like, oh yeah, we're doing away with the credit system. Everybody's going to go on that terrible model which I took one look at that model when it first came out, and I was like, oh yeah, this is terrible for anyone who isn't, like, I hate to say Mel, if you're not Mel Robbins or you're not Dungeon Crawler Carl, this is a terrible model. This is doing what corporate America does all the time, which is squeezing everyone at the bottom so the guys at the top can get more, right? So the top 1% of, even not that, the top 0.1% of creatives, at the top, I mean, they're going to do really well out of this new deal, and everyone at the bottom is just going to be squeezed. And the only way we can break that is if we empower the narrators to do this themselves, to take more charge out of the now the other side of this problem is that ACX has almost made it too easy. ACX is like a creche for being a narrator, right? You go on, you sign up, there's auditions, you upload your audition, and so somebody accepts it, you do the book, you upload that, and then it pays you monthly, right? I mean, oh, super, right? Except that most of the books on ACX wouldn't even make the grade on Sleuthy. They just don't go on ACX, right? Um but it's made it so easy. So what people want is they just want a system where I just want to audition and I just want it to pay me, and you don't really have to do a lot of the work. And this is part of the problem. It creates what they call a switching cost. There's a great book by a guy called Cory Doctorow called Enshittification. I recommend you all read it. In fact, the audiobook's great. He's a great narrator of his own work, right? And he talks about how platforms are like this. And Audible is definitely going down this what they call the enshittified path, right? Where it's just getting steadily worse and worse and worse for the people that use it, right? So ACX is this crash, but in order to get out of that, people need the tools to, they need a little bit of gumption in order to break free. Like, workers actually have to want to leave, actually have to be willing to get up and leave the factory, right? But what I want to do with everything I sort of put out there when I'm not in the booth narrating is give people tools that make it just slightly less painful to do this. And so Sleuthy makes it easier to find if you want to go out prospecting for authors. Go on Sleuthy, and lots of books, sort them by genre, find the ones that look great, and go approach the
Okay.
author.
So now we're getting to, so we've got Sleuthy, we've got the
Right.
Matrix, and now we're getting to the second brilliant idea.
Ah,
But I need you to set the scene first. Where were you? Sitting there with a hot cup of coffee and steam coming out of your
oh,
ears. When did you think of this new idea?
yes, steam coming out of my ears is absolutely right. So for a while now, I have had a publishing company, Royal Wave Media, and I set that up to publish the books that I was licensing from the authors. And when you have a publishing company, the biggest problem that you have is that you get money in and you have to pay money out. You have to pay people royalties. So whereas on ACX, the royalties just magically appear and we just all trust their numbers. If you're a publisher, you get all these different reports from Audible, yeah, from In Audio, from all over the place, KDP, Ingram Spark, Draft to Digital, you name it, you get all these different reports. And all the different reports are in a different format, and all the different reports are impossible to read. They're just ridiculous. They're just awful. And so I would spend, like a lot of publishers do, every quarter, because publishing pays quarterly. ACX pays monthly, but in the publishing world, everything's kind of done quarterly. Thank goodness, because you don't want to do this every month. And I would sit there for like a couple of days, just kind of going, crunchy, putting stuff into spreadsheets and just kind of hoping that I hadn't made an error in the spreadsheet, and then I would send the statement, and I had made an error in the spreadsheet, and I'd look like an idiot. And so I thought there's got to be a better way to do it than that. So I built a system. I'd already built Sleuthy, and so I built a system. And I first of all built it as an in-house system. So it was really clunky. It was numbers on a page, right? And where I would upload my reports and it would spit out the figures. And I thought, well, this is good. Maybe I should make a public version of this. Where, but first I thought, well, somebody's already done this. Now, Sleuthy, I knew nobody had done before, right? Sleuthy was a weird niche product, only applied to audiobook narrators, very, very, but somebody's got to have done a royalty program, right? Which will calculate your royalties. And sure enough, they have. There's, was it Royalties HQ, I think. So I reached out to one of these companies because I thought, well, I don't need to build it if there's a program that already does it. Why reinvent the wheel? So I reached out and had a video call with one of their sales reps. And they told me what their system did. And basically I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of like I was thinking, oh yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking about building. And at the end I said, well, this is great. All right. I absolutely. If the price is right, I'm in. So tell me, give me a quote on what you want. And so she said, all right, so how many books have you got? And I said, well, currently I think I've got about 25 books that I need to crunch. And she said, well, that's okay, that's fine. That would be about $700 a month we would charge you for that. I mean, obviously it goes up if you get more books. And I'm like, I don't make. You're like, what are you talking about? My mortgage is only. So it's, and because these programs are aimed at Simon and Schuster, Penguin Random
Yeah,
House, Tantor,
yeah.
right? You know, massive corporations that don't mind paying these massive fees. What we needed was something for the little guy. So I took my program that does all the same things as these programs does. In fact, it does it better. It handles narrator payments. So if you want to pay an author and they've got an advance, but you've got a narrator you need to pay as well, but they don't have an advance, it'll handle that. Importantly, it handles box sets, which none of the other systems for some reason do. I'm a big fan of box sets. Double your money, do box sets. And so it does all that. And you take all your reports, you upload them, and then you press a button. I mean, yeah, obviously, the first time you upload them, you have to sort of say, look, there's this book. But if it doesn't recognize the book, you press a button and it goes, there's a book. I'll create this book for you. So it does the paperback, the hardback, the ebook, the audiobook, and it knows they all fit together and it's box sets and all the things, right? And you just upload your reports and you press a button and you can actually do monthly or quarterly or half yearly or annually, whatever you want to do. And it spits out PDF statements that you then write the check and send it off or go on to Wise and make the payment. Simple, right? And so I put that out there. And like I do with Sleuthy, Sleuthy, for instance, has a 7-day free trial because I know that a lot of people are a little bit confused about what Sleuthy is. So I want them to be able to go on, try it out. And if they go, oh my God, I hate this, or oh my God, I thought it was just going to give me money, then they can just, fine, just 7 days to try it out.
What
And
do you mean? I have to send the email to the writer?
I
I thought
know.
Sleuthy made
Where
it
do I upload
happen.
my auditions? That's I used to get a lot of that. Where do I upload my auditions? And I'm like, well, no, this is like you have to actually do outreach.
What I
And
hear is I sent an email to a writer. I sent three of them and I didn't get the job.
mm, now, yeah, if anyone's interested, I am going to do a video on how to reach out to authors because it is like I think there's an art to it, but
Now
it's
you're giving away all the secrets.
no, I mean it's because it's because I do have a lot of I have maybe about twice a month I have people reach out to me and say I'm reaching out to authors but it's not really working. Here's a sample of my email, and I go back to them and say, well, actually, the email is is not ideal. So, and it's a lot of psychology when you're reaching out to authors. It's psychology. Now, when you're reaching out to publishers or agents, there's no psychology. If you're reaching out to a literary agent, and again, this is all about like a lot of we little narrators, we live in a nice little pond. We live in the Mediterranean Sea where it's all flat and lovely, and everybody's kind of like, hope you're having a nice week. And that's great. I like that. I like how you're having a nice week. If you see my emails, I'm all like, have a super week, and I'm all about that. But when you move out into the big world of sort of publishing, and particularly literary agents, yeah, there's some hard people. Right? And they speak a particular language. They're not really big on the niceties. And if you don't get the language right with them, then they just delete your email.
Yeah.
So don't go to a pub, don't go to Penguin Random House or a literary agent in New York and ask for a royalty share deal, right? It's gonna
Well,
delete.
but I wish somebody, I wish, and you and I have talked that this is a recent epiphany. And
Mm.
it would have been lovely. Thank you very much, all these people that I interviewed and asked advice for. If you could have told me this 10 years ago, that it's not the thing, because the problem is the online, everyone is so into it's the audiobook community. We're so friendly. We love each
Yeah,
other.
mostly.
Yes, amongst our friends on Facebook, we're so friendly and we love each other. But there's a whole different thing, and that's getting a job with publishers and
Yeah.
professional contact letters. But we think, and they're like, we want you to be authentic. We want to know about your dog and your goose in the backyard and your knitting project. We want to know all those little things about you. And what I'm learning is they still want you to be business.
Yes. Yes. I would say that's as a publisher who gets approached, I would say that's absolutely right. I love getting emails from narrators and I love hearing about what's really like made them tick in that quarter. So if someone sends me a quarterly email and they say, look, I did this project and I did this and I'm really proud of it. And here's a link to it and take a look. I actually do take a look. And I'm often, and if I'm impressed, which a lot of the time I am, I will write back and say, I really like that. Well done on that. That's really great. I like that. That genuinely someone being engaged, right, with what they do, someone who's still got that passion. I like hearing that. I don't necessarily need to know about their knitting projects or their dog, right? But it's and keep the dog out the booth. Dog snoring in the booth. As someone who edits audio, no. So but I do like hearing about people's passion, and if they've got another passion, like there's I can think of one particular narrator now who also has a band, and so they as well as that they'll send information about my band and I do. I'm like, it's great, I'll go
But
and listen to what their
but
band's doing.
you're also a narrator though, and you've worn both hats. So
Right,
there are some
but
exceptions, like
but I
Jessie
will,
Pinkford isn't a narrator, but she's also a coach, and she's like,
yeah,
I think Jessie really was excited about my maximalist redecorating. Did I need to send it to all the
yeah.
people at Harper? Probably not.
No. And no, if you're going to someone whose job is literally and they get like a deluge of these things, then just
Yeah,
keep it businesslike and that's fine,
yeah.
right? It's nothing wrong being friendly, but keep it businesslike. So, but just don't expect friendly back and don't expect the sort of, if you don't get a mail back like immediately and it's not all jolly, it's not personal. And I will say this. So we've talked about social media keeps coming up, and I better address something that certainly is in. If you were inside my head, this is the elephant in there. I'm not on social media. At the end of 2024, I quit all social media completely. I'd already been off a lot of it for a long time. I'd been off Twitter since it was bought out
Ooh.
by the yeah, right. So since it became a cesspool, right?
Yeah, I've
I
not been near Twitter in years.
I'd never been on TikTok, so don't understand it. I tried Instagram and it just it gave me a headache. But I'd been on Facebook and I'd been on LinkedIn and these things. But every time I was on it, it just made me sad. I had reasons for coming off these things. I'm not a fan of Zuckerberg, all those things, right? So I just decided it's not worth it for me. I don't want it. I'm off. So you'll notice, unusually for an audiobook narrator, I have no social media presence, very deliberately.
You
The
and
question
Tavia Gilbert, is it? Tavia,
is there
is it
another one?
Gilbert?
There's
Gosh, yeah.
another. Yes.
I
How do the
interviewed
people
her and
leave?
she was like, one day I just stopped and it was so
Yeah.
good for me.
Mm. Oh my God. I had to make it at the end of 2025. I was asked what were the three things that you're most pleased about in 2025. And top of my list was I am no longer on Facebook. That the year had been so good. And I will tell you this, that the I have never been busier. I've never been happier. Um, Honestly, for me, it's not for everybody. And my wife's still on Facebook. And look, all
I
power
know.
to you if you're
If
on
it
Facebook and
weren't
be
for your
happy.
wife, I would never know when your birthday is.
This is it. Lovely to say, Facebook. But for me, I'm off it, and it's great. All that time and energy that I would have spent, and as a casting person, as someone who's cast a lot of books, I will say I have never ever looked at anybody's social media profile ever. When
I have
someone
never
sends
gotten a
me,
job based on social media. And to
I'm
be
sure
clear,
some people have. I know people who've said, "Oh, I get loads of work for TikTok and stuff like that,"
thank you,
and that's
Janine. She's
Hey, it's
June
Janine.
16th. So the thing about it is I did follow suit in November. I went through that. I'm going to disappear and reinvent myself. So
Mm.
November I went off social media. What I found was, I mean, I still check my friends message me on Messenger, but I didn't look at anyone scrolling. I didn't Instagram, Facebook, and
Right.
up until like mid-January, and I was, oh my God, like a different person. And I thought I'm never going to go back to that because that was, and then I found that what happened was I was feeling really, really low and I had like a very bad week and I snuck back on just
It
to
sucks
check
you
one
back
little
in
thing. And
like
next
sugar.
thing you know, I'm like a crazy person, unhappy, miserable, thinking that like what matters is the social media audience. Um,
Yeah.
and Shay says I have a similar relationship with social media.
Yeah.
And Tim
I
Tim
get it.
says I'm a social media idiot. Thank you. You're not an idiot.
No,
You're
you're not
you're
an idiot. No.
He's a
And
really good
I
presence.
was on
Tim
it.
is always very positive on there. It's one of the people that like
Mhm.
you like seeing a post from Tim. But I don't, I think all of us can benefit from backing away.
Yeah, it's about just figuring out like what's really worth your time and what's really genuine. I think this comes to down to things that are because a lot of the time you go on social media and you absorb things from outside what is your natural circle of attention. That it's someone who you've never met has some vague crisis, and that energy affects you, and your energy is precious. And
Yeah.
so don't let other things kind of sap it or seep into it. You know, it's I mean I don't want to make this all that
Your
social.
world becomes
Yeah.
external.
And you can't change it. You can't
Yeah.
go to someone who's like 500 miles away having a crisis. You don't even know what that crisis is, and you never actually met them anyway. They're just like some person who liked something you did once and they became a Facebook friend, right? You can't go and solve their problems. I mean, all you can do is go, oh, that's terrible. Oh, no, that person's
And
going,
it,
oh,
and
that
it
person had a
pulls you
terrible day.
away from yourself. And
Yeah.
then you
Or they
start to
say
lose
something that makes
touch.
you angry, right? They
Yeah.
say something like, oh,
Because
yeah,
it's
and
just because it's purposefully an algorithm designed to trip your feelings and to
right.
give you
And it's
dopamine hits.
terrible. And
And
so in
it's
shitification
false.
again. Yeah. So,
Somebody
so I'm off
said,
it and great. Yeah.
Shay says these things were meant to be a community, and due to things such monetization and algorithm-driven content, it's just not. It's not. And you start, but you buy into that, and you think, well, these are my
Right.
friends, and they are my friends in a lot of ways. I've had some lovely
I mean,
experiences, but
yeah.
I think I think we have to chat with
To
ourselves.
wind that up, everybody should read Enshittification. I think Janine, I'm sorry, I know you hate the title of that book, but everybody should read that. This explains why all this has happened,
I
right?
know I blush every time he says
It's
it.
it was word of the year, I think, 3 years ago. And it's
Jonathan
absolutely
says
explains why they're all like they
Jonathan says FOMO.
are.
Jo-
FOMO.
I adore Cory Doctorow. Been following him for years. Is
Corey's
that
amazing.
wrote it?
So there's that. So
Okay.
so what I did was I built this system and I so back onto the royalty system, and the royalty
Yes.
system basically you upload it and it spits it out and not a
Yes.
problem. And that launches next month, and I'm still just sort of testing it and ironing out the
So
coppers
give
and
me
stuff
an
like that.
example of how a
And
narrator could utilize it.
I will. And it's called Royal Tally, which is a play on my company name, Royalty. And so I thought it was quite a funny
I
name to
like it.
do. So,
I like it.
so basically, one of the things that you can end up doing, it's very good for indie authors, right? Because a lot of indie authors are wary of getting into royalty payment agreements because they know what I went through. I mean, they understand that it's a genuine pain in the ass to calculate this. So if you take away that pain, if you take away the pain in the ass, you make it easy to calculate royalties, be it a narrator who takes on the distribution and then pays the author royalties, which, I have authors, I do that, or the other way around. If you're an author and you take on the distribution, then you pay narrator royalties. Suddenly, what becomes like a quarterly huge pain point becomes super simple. It's upload, press a button, bam. And
Which
then what I've done
allows
is,
you to take your book outside of ACX
which means you
and
can go outside
use,
ACX and do royalty share.
yeah.
Yes. So you can say that you can make a deal with an author and and basically at that point, yes, you have to have a contract. And but then you know somebody takes ownership of that because there are very few platforms that do upload royalty share. Findaway used to do it, and then they stopped doing it. Spoken Realms does it, but other than that, it's too easy really to get a deal where you can upload it to a distributor and then they will pay both of you. So a lot of the time you have to come to a deal where you have a contract and one person takes ownership of the distribution and then sends the other person the royalties. And yes, there's a certain amount of trust in that, but it's a contract. And to be perfectly honest, what a lot of people don't understand about ACX is that the contracts on ACX, we think, oh, it's contracts on ACX, but have you ever tried enforcing it?
Yeah.
Because people that do suddenly find that the small print in ACX, or just the fact that they're Amazon and Audible and don't care, means that you end up with a terrible solution to that deal. Basically, if someone stiffs you on Audible, the first thing they're going to do is go, well, you know, I mean, it's tough. I feel bad for you, but move on, basically. And that's if you can get someone to answer your inquiry.
Well,
So,
my big pain point, and I'm always conscious and feel like they could do it at any moment again, is when they had that thing when they used to give codes, free promo codes.
oh, yeah, yeah.
It wasn't our fault that they gave them away to everyone, and then it wasn't our fault that they didn't have their system protected against scammers. So then evidently people were
All
giving the
right.
codes away. But I was one of the people caught up in it. They sent a random email saying that one of my author's books was being taken down for suspicious activity. And I was a new
Yeah.
narrator
That's
relying on
scary.
royalty shares, and they froze every month for 6 months. They sent me an email saying, your payments, you've been paid such and such, and there was no money in the bank. But they wouldn't talk to me. They said, if you're under investigation, we can't talk to you.
Right.
Because I'm a
And
criminal?
it's awful. And so
Yeah,
you're actually better off, I think, you know, doing a proper contract deal outside a system like that where you're going to get screwed over. The worst thing
yeah.
ACX ever did to me was I obviously publish books on Audible, and one day I wake up to an email from ACX saying um, we're disputing your right to publish these audiobooks. We're not sure you have the rights to do that. We need you to prove that you have the rights to publish these audiobooks. And I'm like, all
All
right,
of
fair
them?
enough. Yeah, I mean, at this point they wanted about like it was about 9 or 10 that they were disputing.
Okay.
So I thought, all right, fair enough. So I got PDFs of my contracts because I got all contracts with the authors, and I sent them in the PDFs. So you can only send in 5 at a time, right? Because the system's annoying. But so I sent that in. I thought, right, good. I have proved. And I get an email the next day. That's not good enough. This is not good enough.
We want
We
blood.
need extra documentation. And I wrote back and I said, but these are the contracts. I said, I'm happy to give you other documentation. What documentation do you want?
Your birth
Right.
certificate, your
And they came back and
passport.
they said, we can't tell you what documentation we want. All we
Right.
can tell you is, all we can tell you is what you've sent us isn't sufficient. We can't tell you what to send us, but we can tell you that what we've given us so far is not
What
enough.
nonsense is that?
So I kept writing back to them for about 2 weeks and saying, these are the contracts, these are the contracts. And eventually, after 2 weeks of it's not sufficient and we're not telling you, they went, yeah, it's fine. We're okay. We've signed off on it. And because eventually it went to some human who just went, oh, okay. So when you're dealing with ACX, it's not all safe and what lovely and safe, right? It's you're actually better off finding a legitimate person who legitimately has a book that they're passionate about and coming to a legitimate contract. And one of the things Royal Tally does, actually, I'm just setting this up for it, is stores contracts and allows you to allocate an outside viewer user. So say you're an author and you're distributing this audiobook that you've done royalty share with a narrator and you're uploading your reports to Royal Tally. You can actually specify that for that book, they have viewer privileges to come in and see your data. Bless you. and and you can store the contract online so everyone can see it, and they can come in, they can view their data. So any dispute, they come in and go, oh look, there's my data, that's great, right? They can't change it, they've got viewer privileges. So those things basically, so that's what it is. It takes away that pain point. And so I want people to sort of feel that they've got the ability then to, if they want, and it isn't for everybody. A lot of people are going to want to work in like the big system with, I just want people to email me saying, do this book, I do the book, I get paid. But people who want to work outside that, people who are willing to like take on a little bit more of the business responsibility, that it's worth doing. It opens up a whole new world, and it can be a lot of fun. But so I'm trying to take away, that's a pain point I've tried to solve, is dealing with the royalties and contracts and
And I want to follow on to that point because we want to talk about the third idea as well. I
Mm.
don't want to run out of time, but I learned a lesson on that because I am one of those people that hates it. The thought of like overcomplicating my life because now I have to deal with ongoing the writer and this
Right. I
and
gotta
I
do
know the
accounts.
royal tally will
Yeah.
make it easier, but then I have to learn the royal because my mind is
No.
very resistant to this stuff. But I learned a big lesson about this because I had a new writer that couldn't use PayPal. I've had a Wise
Oh
account for
yeah.
years, but I don't use Wise because PayPal's so much easier. I've done it a million times. So what? There'll be a little fee. 80 pounds or dollars.
Mm.
$80 difference just
Yeah.
because he paid in Wise because I got my act together and sent him the one link. It took me 10 minutes.
Right.
But I was resistant. And I challenge everyone out there, if you hear all this about royal tally and your first royalty
Yeah.
tally, and your
Or
first feeling is, oh
contracts.
God, it's too complicated, maybe try it anyway.
So the other thing that I've done is on Sleuthy, there's another thing you can get, which is a contracts bundle. I've actually just expanded it to 12 templates. And it covers all the different types of contract that you would need for the US and the UK. So all of the contracts come in a US version, UK version, because they're different. And as you can probably tell, I'm British, I live in America, so that's me. And you can download that, all my contract templates. So they're just templates for you to use. And I'm not a lawyer and all those things. But these things have been run by lawyers, and they're the contracts that I use. And so they're contracts for licensing books, for doing royalty share, for hiring narrators. There's a bunch of stuff in there, basically. And also in there is a massive great guide on how contracts work and how to use them. So basically explaining in English what the hell it all is, right? Because you know what these things mean and why you need them and how to change them if you want to change them and all that sort of stuff.
That's
So
brilliant.
that's
I think
that's on
that's
there.
hugely
So that's the
helpful.
contract part. So Sleuthy, find the books. Royal Tally, do the horrible there with the
Now,
royalties. Contracts there. So contracts, you can download the contract templates, make your own contracts, blah,
the
blah, blah.
Matrix, the
The
Matrix for
Matrix tells
learning to
you
pick the right
how
project.
to pick a right book, and I
But
will do a thing
now,
on.
let's
So
unveil.
today, the new thing, number three, is Auditionio. Now I know there are platforms like this, okay, and but what Auditionio does is, having running auditions is a messy thing, right? You get a lot of emails with a lot of MP3s, and you have to create a little email folder for them and go through them and all the thing. Oh, that's a pain.
And
And
people don't follow the directions.
people don't follow directions, and people don't, and it can be messy. And if you post on social media, your post immediately disappears, and it's just, and also you don't really know what you're getting and who you're getting. So I decided that for free, and this is a completely free thing, that because I built an in-house thing to do this again, and I thought, well, I'll build a better version of this for public. And it's called Auditionio. So if you go to auditionio.com, and it's exactly what you would think, basically. If you're a narrator, you set up a narrator profile, and like you've done on all these different platforms, there's all these different narrator profiles. You got one on this. And if you're an author or a publisher, you set up an author thing, and then you list your auditions. Now, the things that are different to some of the other platforms are this. First of all, it's a curated list on both sides. So when narrators have to have three, sorry, but there had to be a gate, and it's three publicly available, like professional books. So books available on Audible or Spotify or whatever, right? Um, you have to have completed 3 projects in order to get on this list. So that at least sets a little gate that
That's
everybody just
fair
has to.
enough
So not
because I
everybody's just like,
challenge anyone to go back and listen to your first 3 audiobooks.
right. So then, and so the other thing that is interesting, and I had a lot of fun with this, is when people are putting together their profiles, one of the things that a lot of people do is they want to add credits, and you can add 25 credits to this profile at the moment. But what I most hate about adding credits to profiles is having to find and store and upload the audiobook covers. Yeah, right. So I built a system where you just put in the link to like Audible or Spotify or whatever, right? And or Libro FM, which is what I use for my audiobooks, and you press a little button and it goes and gets the cover for you. So you don't have to download the cover and you don't have to upload the cover. And it's about like just making things just a little bit easier. So you can upload 6 samples, and also you have to have 1 sample and 3 credits on the system. And so what happens is that comes through, and then I make sure I do like I do with a lot of these things. I sit here and I go, okay, because I've built systems this end to make sure that you're real, that your sample is real and your credits are real, and if so, bam, okay, you're live on the system. The other side, I make sure that anything that's listed for audition is real, that they've got the rights to it, that it's not a coloring book or a comic book or a, right, that it's not AI, right, that it's not bullshit like you find on, pardon my French, on ACX, right? My French is ACX, not bullshit. And so it's like so it's not, if a book comes through and it's like clearly going to be like not worth it. And also, if it's listed as royalty share, it has to meet the same criteria I use for Sleuthy.
Oh, good.
So if someone puts a royalty share book on for audition, and I look at it and I know no one's ever going to make any money out of this, it gets rejected as a piss poor deal.
Isn't
So
that a lot of front end work on your part?
no, because I've built systems at the back where I can see all this stuff on a dashboard and just go, that's okay. That's not so okay. There's a massive dashboard at the back of Sleuthy, actually. Sleuthy, GetSleuthy.com is a front end system. There's another website, an entire website that is all buttons and screens. And that's the brain of Sleuthy. And what Get Sleuthy does, it just literally plugs into that brain. And that brain is over here constantly like checking books and getting books and evaluating books and all these things. And then over here, Sleuthy just kind of feeds into that to get what it needs. And it's the same with this system. There's a back end admin system that does a lot of this stuff. So that's basically it. Now,
See why I like this guy? He's like a genius.
no, I just
You're a
like playing.
genius. Your
This is what I do instead
brain.
of gaming. This is my PlayStation. So building these
Yeah.
things. But the important thing is that when people audition, they upload their auditions onto the system, and the system curates it all on the system. So there's no emailing anymore. There's no emailing MP3s to email addresses and wondering if they got there and blah. You can see on the system that they uploaded okay, and then you get emails when, so there's a shortlisting process. So the author sees the however many auditions they get, and they shortlist them before, so when you've been shortlisted, which is really nice for a narrator to know they've been short. I mean, it's not so nice if you don't get shortlisted, but that's a good thing. And then you get, and when you're chosen, it's like, yay, this person's chosen you, and now go and do your deal, right? So I'm not doing any contracts, I'm not doing any distribution. Someone contacted me actually very, very recently and said, why don't you build a distribution channel? And I'm like, I don't want any part of that. That's not how I want to spend my autumn. I'm a senior, right? I don't want to spend my autumn years doing contract disputes, and I don't want to be ACX. I just want to
Yeah.
give people tools that they can take charge of it themselves. And honestly, we need that. We need people to get out there and be, creative entrepreneurs and not be reliant on corporations. And so this is a set of tools, hopefully reasonably priced. In the case of Auditionio, it's completely free, and it will always be completely free. And the other things I do pay the very small price of, it doesn't cost almost anything to run, right? So it
Yeah.
just literally, it takes up a little bit of room on my cloud server. apart from that, it sits on, like, I've got a hosting account with a company where I've got lots of websites that run. So it just literally sits there. And the other things I do pay its fee, right?
Yeah, Sleuthy paid for itself in the first week I had it, what, 3 years ago? It's paid
Yeah. I mean,
for
I think if you
itself.
get a deal through Sleuthy,
Yeah.
then, and I know plenty of people who get, like, in fact, one person contacted me and they said they got their first, they were managed to join SAG because they got their first SAG deal through Sleuthy. And I thought, I never thought that would happen. And also other people have come up with use cases for Sleuthy. I never thought that they would. So somebody, for instance, needed audition pieces in a particular genre. And so they went on Sleuthy and they looked for books in a particular genre and they used those as audition piece, like samples, which is okay. That's not a copyright infringement. I thought that's clever. I never thought of
Yeah.
that use case. And so it's free. Royal Tally does have a price to it, but like everything, for the first 3 books that you upload to Royal Tally, calculating the royalties on those is completely free. It's only if you go beyond 3 books, then it's like it becomes like 19.99 up to like 50 books or something like that, basically. But
Yeah.
it's certainly not $700 a month. And so again, you can try it out for free. If you hate it, leave it, no cost. Minimum number
So
of books and people bragging. Oh, I'm not
Kim
supposed to be
Kim
reading that way.
Kim says just a thought. Minimum
Hmm.
number of books and people bragging about I just released my such and such number book. And when you check on it, it's a whole bunch of 1 and 1.5 hour books. Maybe a
Yeah.
more true measure of experience would be a minimum number of hours narrated.
That's a good idea. Well, if someone, yeah, look, if someone tries to get onto it with like 3 links to like books that are like 10 minutes long, I
Yeah.
mean, although there are some children's books that are very difficult to narrate. I've done a lot of children's books that weren't particularly long, but they certainly involved a lot of effort. So yeah, this is why I like to get eyes on everything. Believe it or not, every book that goes on to Sleuthy has human eyes on it.
That's
There is a
astonishing to
human
me. I
there's
don't
a
know how it,
human, I know, because it's got 7,000 books, been doing it a long time. And again, I've got it like a system. I call it, it's my QA system. Actually, there's a whole system on Sleuthy called Funky QA,
yeah,
where
his
every book,
system is he doesn't sleep.
that's but it's all buttons. It's all automated and there's buttons and all the information I need is right there. And it's like, it's okay. It's great. In fact, I'm auditing Sleuthy at the moment. I'm going back to the books that have been on it longest and making, because over the past year I've tightened the criteria for Sleuthy. And I've realized there are some older books that don't quite cut the mustard. So I'm going back and checking them, and that's what I do. But so again, so those are 3 things that I'm just doing. Now I'm not going to build the new ACX. I don't want to be a distributor. I don't want to do it. I've thought about it so many times over the years. Should I build a distribution channel and distribute and pay? I don't want to do it. I wouldn't enjoy it, and are just no fun. So I built these tools, Sleuthy and Royal Tally and Auditionio, and come up with things just to help people understand things better. And this is what you can do when you're not on social media. You have lots of time. So
But
so it's
time aside, I think a really, really big thing to take, and I've been thinking a lot about this lately, to take from this call is, can I please hold you up, Hannibal Hills, as an example? Because at this moment, and I have recently, I'm not on it anymore, seen a lot of negativity, scarcity on social media. And
yeah,
I'm sick of hearing about this. Oh my God, now ACX is in it's this world and AI and I'm there
yeah,
are there are always factors in the business, but look at how many ideas and this isn't airy fairy. You're not sitting here going, life is wonderful, toxic positivity. You're like, well, ooh, what if we
no,
could make this easier? And you also crucially said, these are the things you're following your muse. These are the things I'm interested in. These are the things
right,
I do. So it's like isn't it like a constant internal conversation with yourself? What is my heart telling me? What do I want to do next? What are ways I can find my way around things? Rather than
yeah,
the fake external conversation everyone's being fed all these days. Scarcity, they're coming to get you. Hannibal's sitting here because you said we're being crunched, ACX
We
is doing
are.
this, and what you took with that information was to build something and think of solutions,
Right. Make it
not
a little bit
think,
easier for us to
yeah,
break the chains, or at least
yeah.
make the chains a bit looser. And yeah, that's true, you know. And I'm still, even though I'm not on, so I know maybe come across a bit smug about being on not on social media, because I
I
know
love the
it's difficult to
smugness. I'm going around going,
be.
I'm the bee's knees.
No, social media, but it's that I'm aware of the conversation about the scarcity and AI, and I obviously, you know, I mean, um, it's but what, you know, when they invented what, the spinning jenny, I mean, it's spreadsheets, so that all the people that like doing ledgers, or pocket calculators, put the people that you know, oh my god, I like my slide rule. I mean, there's this inevitable march. I think about it, if I can just sort of like riff on this for 5 minutes,
No,
but
I love
shut me
this
up.
because this is better than
It's
the last piece of advice. I love this. This is going on the
so
promo
I
clip.
did prepare a last piece of advice. It's not this, but so I think of it as like that I'm constantly like shinning up a pole. Like there's a totem pole or whatever, if we can say it, like a telegraph pole, and I'm shinning up it, and the water of technology in the world is rising beneath me, right? So I'm climbing up this pole, and it is a bit of a greasy pole, like politics, which is Disraeli's quote, and and the waters are rising, and the waters are, there's more people doing this, it's easier for people to do this, AI can do this, and that's the water rising beneath me. But me, I'm
So
climbing up the
far,
pole.
this is not making me feel better, Hannibal.
No, it's fine. The water and everybody's looking down and going, oh, the water's rising. But here's the thing, the water is not rising as fast as people think it is. I I cloned my voice on 11 Labs, which is the like this is the best way to okay to hear what it would do. And so I every few months I go back to 11 Labs and I go to my clone, right, which has been put through their new algorithm, and I listen to it. And I'm well aware what my voice sounds like because I edit my material. And AI, you know, when you go on YouTube and you know when you listen to a YouTube video that's narrated by AI, it's so clever the way they can clone a voice, but it doesn't have the heart.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't have that human. It does not have that humanity. It doesn't, and it's not going to have that for a very long time. So unless your own narration is soulless and terrible and fake, right? You got just keep going, right? You're going to be okay. This actually leads into what I'd
So
prepared for
you
my.
can just, so instead
So
of the technology, the water rising, you just float.
no, well, you don't need to climb. You think you need to climb harder than you do, but actually you're already climbing well, right? But the thing is, you're still climbing. The people that are going to get swallowed by the water are the people. Now, for instance, during COVID, we thought, oh no, all these like theatre actors are going to come in and they're all going
See,
to take
I
all the
never
audiobook jobs,
thought
right?
that. I thought,
No,
oh my gosh, let's all get together and start Cup of Joe. That'll be
hey,
fun.
there you go, which is better, right? But a lot of what we didn't realize was that a lot of these people would go, oh, because I mean, how many people come to you and say, oh, I'd love to, I'm retiring soon, I want to do a bit of audiobook narration, I could do with the extra money, blah blah blah, and and the moment they start doing it, they're like, oh hell no, right? So and they drop out, right, all the time. And every now and again you get I know some brilliant people who started this and they went yeah, and they worked at it and now they're
Yeah,
great, right?
yeah.
But that's the exception, not the rule. And so the people who are going to be drowned by the rising water coming up the pole are two types of people. People who, well, three types. The type that just basically can't be asked, right? I'm just going to give up and I'm just going to drown, right? Those people. But more importantly, the people that don't keep climbing, okay, and you don't need to climb very much, but you do need to stay on your game. If you got into audiobook narration and you've never improved, you just like, I don't need to learn anything, I'm just going to do the easiest books I can, and I'm just going to phone it in, and then I'm going to go down the pub. Those people have stuff to worry about. And you know, so there is a an impetus to always be slightly better every book you do, but you should be doing that anyway, right? Every book you should try to be just 1%
Well,
better
I think
than
that the
that
people
person.
that aren't going to make it are the people that think the job is an algorithmic challenge and how many likes can I get, and it's a marketing exercise rather than a craft.
Yeah,
But I'm
yeah,
old. Maybe I'm old school, but I think you have to care about the actual recording
the craft of
because
it.
it takes a little bit of time in a booth to get a book narrated. And if all you care about is what people are saying about you on social media and marketing,
It's like
you're not
anything,
going to
isn't it?
like standing in that booth for 5 hours a day, are you?
No, and it's like authors. If all authors care about is people telling them they're brilliant. Now authors love being told they're brilliant, but it's like, I mean, but then don't we? And so that those people. But what people don't understand about AI, I think, what people have failed to grasp about AI is yes, there's a lot of slop out there. Nobody's denying that. We see it everywhere, right? And slop to a certain extent is self-filtering. Okay, so I see a lot of slop try to come through sleuthy. And the great thing about slop is readers can smell it. You can see, so when people are putting these books up onto platforms and they've done nothing but put in a single prompt, they haven't looked at it and they've just put it out there, and readers can see that a mile off. And these books do not sell. And anything that doesn't sell eventually just peters out, right? People go away and they go and find the next con, right? So that's going to go away. But what people are failing to see about AI is this: that for genuine authors, yep,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's right. You're supposed to find the inner truth of the story in yourself. Love it.
Yeah, that's for the
And
benefit of the audience because the guest keeps reading the chat.
yeah, sorry.
Kim said it's not supposed to be about you. The narrator is supposed to
Right.
disappear into the story. Over to you,
So,
Hannibal.
what people are failing to see is that AI is not this demon, right? It is actually helping us in a way that we're not seeing. AI is helping actual authors, and all a majority of authors are now using AI in some form or another, but they're using it in the right way. They're not just putting in a prompt and then putting out slop. They're using it in their planning process. They're using it in to do things to help them with marketing, to brainstorm, right? Which AI is really good at. It's really good at just brainstorming
But
stuff,
the
right?
thing about this is it's a nuanced conversation. And again, we go back to my pet hate. The algorithms of the modern day marketing social media world doesn't deal well with nuance. It just wants you
Right.
enraged.
They
It
just want
wants
you
you
to be angry. And
enraged.
that again, going back to Cory Doctorow again, aren't we? That this is what Facebook did
Yeah.
years ago. Facebook said, we need our algorithm to keep people engaged. Okay, that's all they told it. But what they found is that the algorithm found that the best way to keep people engaged was to keep them angry or afraid. And those people are engaged more than the people who are happy and calm and jolly, right?
Yeah.
So
And who
angry and
wants to live?
afraid. So
And but
yeah, people
audiobook
just
narrators are very, very smart people. We read, for God's sake. I read
right,
one of those
very well read.
Instagram challenges. They were like, challenge yourself to read 4 books a year. And I'm like, yeah,
Not a
right.
month, you know. It's like,
We're
yeah,
intelligent people, but
I
I
know.
think because we join and we want to learn and we want to connect and network, that we get a lot of our information from online. And I think that we are susceptible and falling for a lot of this online fear and rage and
We are.
anxiety.
And it's
And
new. It's a new demon,
we
right? It's a
still
new
like each
demon.
other
Yeah.
individually. I can't think of one narrator I don't love and wouldn't hug and feed
Right.
and,
It's a great
want to meet up
community.
with. But the whole group dynamic thing, I think it's falling for the current online world of fear and
And
scarcity.
and it will. And because it's the madness of crowds. It's
Yeah.
what I was saying the other day about, a person is smart, but people are dumb. And
But then let's talk
you know,
sleuthy.
but with
Contact a
AI,
writer and you'd have a real relationship.
yeah,
Sleuth
contact
did
writer,
that.
get a relationship.
Yeah.
It's but what AI is doing for us is it is increasing output. So we talk about supply and demand. So the supply of books is going up. Authors who were writing 2 books a year are now writing 6 books a year. Authors who the barrier to getting into being an author was that they couldn't really figure out how to plan their book. AI has helped them plan their book, and
Yeah.
now they're an indie author. So there's lots more genuine authors entering the space, and authors are producing more stuff. Is there crap? There's always been crap out there. There's crappy music out there. There's crappy art out there, right? It is television, for God's sake.
There's
We've got
famous
700 channels,
writers.
and most of it's rubbish,
This
right?
shocked me so much. One of my favorite famous writers, I found out another narrator had done a book by this famous writer. And I was like, how is this person writing so much? They sell other people their name. And so,
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
other
yeah.
people write for them under their name every year. I'm like, I don't,
Yeah, because it's a
I'm like, so
brand.
you're lying to me?
No, it's a licensed brand, and what they do is they actually, a lot of them produce the ideas and the synopses, and then they get those to a
But
certain
you
extent
didn't write it.
ghostwritten.
That's not you. So how is
No,
everyone
but
so
it's
mad at
it's
AI?
it's
That's the
like
same thing in my mind.
it's the
That's not
equivalent,
you.
and in terms of a book brand, it's the equivalent of changing, having a different like showrunner or something, right?
I
So
don't
so
like it when business
No,
takes
no, I
over
don't.
the
But a
craft.
lot of people don't. If you're in it for, so genre is really important. If you and genre in the Matrix is very important. Genre, people have expectations. So, but romance is big for this. In fact, they even now put a lot of listings on the romance. It's like it has a happy ending and there's no harm comes to anybody. And so a lot of people want to read. They want their expectations there, and so they if an author, basically, I'm just trying to think of a good example of this.
It
So
has
someone
to
like say
come from
say
that author. It has to be his
for
voice.
in some
That's the
cases,
reason.
yes, but there are plenty of readers out there who are flexible on that. What they want is they want McVitie's digestives, but they don't mind if it's not made by McVitie's, right? So they'll happily just want a digestive biscuit, right? They want a biscuit with chocolate on the top. They don't mind if it's not.
I don't like it. I
And
don't.
so I get it, right? A lot of people don't, and I understand that's fair. But there's enough people out there that do. That means that's a viable thing. It's an author brand, as
And
opposed to,
another thing,
yeah.
Agatha Raisin, there's like 32 or something um in the series, like 27 or 32 or
Mm,
something in the series. I've been listening to it since I think 2000. I've been
mm,
listening to it. I listen to all of them in order every night before I go to sleep. And then when I get to the end, I listen back to all of them in order every night before I go to sleep. So that by the
mm,
time I'm back at the beginning, I start over again. I'm crazy. It
yeah, yeah,
helps me go to sleep. I like the Agatha Raisin series.
mm.
What they've started doing, and they do this to the Harlan Coben ones as well, I've noticed, and I feel so ripped off. All of a sudden, they've republished it. So although I already have that
Oh,
book in my Audible library, when I go to look for it, I have to pay for it again.
yeah. That's not nice. That's not good.
But I
That's
mean, I
con.
can
That's
find it in
terrible.
my library, but they show you the republished one. And Harlan Coben does that the same way. Like he's written a
Yeah,
book 10 years ago, suddenly they publish it like it's a brand new book.
yeah.
And
That's
I'm
not great. That's
buying it
fraud. That's
thinking
that's terrible.
that
That's not
that's
good. Yeah, that's
we
terrible. That's just. I mean, you shouldn't have to pay for something twice. That'd be like a band putting out the same album 10 years. Well, they do, don't they? They
they
re-release
do.
special editions, but you should still be able to get the original, right? It's a con if people just keep releasing the same thing over and over again. Although
They
there is a massive trend in publishing at the moment for like special editions, which actually do really, really well, where people publish like a special leather-bound illustrated edition of their novel, and a lot of readers actually like that. But
yeah, but
but you're
this is
right. People shouldn't put
audiobook.
out the same stuff in a different package and pretend that it's new, right? That's fraudulent. That's terrible. But that's very different to licensing a brand and allowing people to create. Like for instance, like what you see a lot of now is Sherlock Holmes is in the public domain. So there's a lot of authors out there writing new Sherlock Holmes novels, right? And some of them are great. There's actually some famous people doing this. Some of them are going to be terrible, right? Because they are, right? Because there's going to be people out there who shouldn't be writing anything. I mean, that line about everyone has a book inside them. Well, for some people, that's where it ought to stay. And some people are, I'll write Sherlock Holmes, and they write it. It's terrible. But there are some good ones out there, and that's fine, right? I mean, and then people who really want to read Sherlock Holmes, they've only got Conan Doyle stuff. Well, now they've got lots more because people can write Sherlock Holmes,
And I
and
love that idea as long as the cover says what it really is. And
right, it should.
I
That's it.
feel like
And
I'm being tricked
what
these
you're
days.
against is being defrauded. You're
Yeah, I feel
against
like I'm
people
being
doing a bait
lied
and
to.
switch. If somebody comes on and says, I've done this, and as you say, they're honest, right? Then you judge the material by whether you like it or not. You're not being sold a bill of goods.
No,
And
don't put
you
the
quite
author's
rightly
name
don't
on the
want
book if you weren't the author. And that doesn't mean you wrote the outline and gave it to some guy
that's a
in
good
college.
I agree. That is it is a little bit shady doing that. I will say that. So it should be on the cover, kind of like the brand. If this is but then what you do find that so with some authors, like they're still putting out work even though they died 10 years ago, and kind of like, well, I suppose he's dead, but this is a new book by Clive Cussler, you know. And I don't know. The thing is, there are people that don't mind that because they just want to read a new. They want to read a new book by
You
somebody.
see,
They want,
I like
you know,
I
it's
like
what
a writer because of
same.
something in what they're
I agree
communicating.
because they had a turn of phrase, or
Yeah.
they just had a way of doing things, and they you could tell that it was their mind creating that universe. And
They're
I get
sharing
it.
a little of their energy with me. So if you didn't write
I get
it,
it.
it's not your energy. I'm getting
See,
someone
here's
else's
the
energy.
tension though between business and the creative passion, and those things have a kind of little wrestling match in us all, don't they?
I have
You
to get
know,
my head around the business. I'm going to just learn it and suck it up, but
no,
I
be
really can't
you.
stand it.
And this goes into what I prepared as my little like lesson, um, which is this.
Oh, yes, this is the one last piece of advice you would
So
like to leave our audience. It's going to watch this in a million years.
okay, so right, here's what it is. When I was building Auditionio, I obviously had to use my own books online to as test cases. So I set myself up as a narrator on the system, and I went and I found my books on Audible or Libro FM, which is what I use, and I found them, and there they are. And I don't do that. I don't visit my books online very much, but I did, and I saw reviews for a lot of books in some cases I'm very proud of, and the reviews in a lot of cases were very harsh. Um, and there are some books that I've done that I personally put, I think, blood and sweat into, and I'm very proud of my work. And some of the reviews were extremely cruel. Right, I knew these reviews were out there. I just hadn't seen them in a while, but it hurt, and I went and said, oh, it hurt, but what I came to after I thought about this is this: I have a particular style of narration, and it is not to everyone's taste. I have a very characterized, particular type of energy in my narration, and it is not, it's not for everybody. But the people it is for seem to really like it. And what I had to remind myself was this, and I've said this to a couple of other narrators who've had bad reviews, and I had to remind myself of this week, is that I am not U2, I'm Cardiacs. Now, I'm going to explain this. Um,
Who?
so I'm going to explain what I just said.
Okay.
And this is a little thing I'm going to put on my, you're not U2, you're Cardiacs. So you two are what in my head when I think of a stadium band, I think of you two. You pick a stadium band, whatever, right? There's a stadium band. For me, I think of you two. I've got a friend really likes you two. I think of you two. So a wide appeal, sells out big concerts, right? Lots of fans. You know, nobody really hates you two. I'd imagine, you know, they're a bit like, you know, the Beatles in that way. Everybody kind of likes them.
Vanilla. Vanilla
Right. Well,
ice
not
cream of
vanilla,
all the
but they've got
flavors.
massive broad appeal and they do extremely well.
Yeah,
And
vanilla.
fair play to them for doing that, right? But they've got whereas now one of my favorite bands, a band that I'm really passionate about, and if you haven't heard them, look them up online because they're amazing, is a band called Cardiacs.
Oh,
And
cardiacs. Car
Cardiacs, Tim
cardiac.
Smith, the late Tim Smith was the band leader in that, and it was app then and Cardiacs. I just adore Cardiacs. But I will say this: most people can't stand them. The music press couldn't stand them. They did a tour, I think, supporting Blur years ago when Tim was still alive, and people threw bottles at the stage because they couldn't understand the music. They
I'll
didn't
have to check
like
it
it.
out.
They Cardiacs. I can actually send you. I can send you a link to put on this, which is like explains. It's a music student made a video about Cardiacs. And so, but the people that like Cardiacs, right? So they would never play stadiums. They would play small venues with a few hundred people. But those few hundred people, for them, this was music. This was great. They loved it. And I know because every now and again I get emails from someone who's listened to one of my audiobooks going, I really loved what you did with X and blah, blah, blah. And it makes my day. I don't get many of those emails, but I get one or two every now and again, and it's great. I know that there's a small group of people out there that they enjoy Hannibal Hill's narration.
It's not that small, Hannibal.
No,
You
no, no.
have
It's
quite a
it's
following.
yeah. But the reviews reflect the other people who are in the stadium who. Oh my God, I hate the way he does characters. I hate the way he
But
does women.
everyone's
I,
got those.
I know everyone
You
does,
too, you
but
too have
this is
them.
this is my point: is that we are the narrators we are, and we
Yeah.
have the appeal that we have. For me to try and be you two, or to bring it into our world, R.C. Bray or Scott Brick or, whatever, would be betraying who I am. It would be betraying the truth of my art, my performance. And and sometimes I'll look at a bad review like that and I'll say to myself, well, maybe I should tone it down. Maybe I should be a bit more of a wide appeal. And then I'm like, no, because you're not you two, you're cardiacs. You
And
do
the
it the way
other
you
half
do it, and the
and the other
people that
half of the
like
people
like
would
it.
hate you. If you
Right.
changed it, the other half of the people would hate you, and you wouldn't even have work you were proud
There
of.
you go. Oh, and I'd be like, and I believe it, I have tried, and every now and again, years ago, I used to go, well, maybe I'll try and read it like Scott Brick reads it, and I just couldn't. I because it wasn't me. So my bit of advice for everyone in like a million years or whatever is this: is that it's okay not to sell out Wembley Stadium. It's okay if the venues you're selling out only have 300 or 400 people in them. If you are doing things that are the true art within you, and those people out there, yeah, it's not everybody. And in fact, it's probably not most people, but those people are really digging what you're doing, then that's great. That's enough, and so it's okay, right? I mean it, and so I have to remind myself of that because I know that my style, and if anyone here listens to any of my stuff, my style is not for everybody, and I get it, but it's it's how I play,
It's
and
never going
it's
to be. I mean,
no,
I became snarky vocal fry girl for a couple of auditions and I booked them. And guess how much I loved doing those books? I spent the
I
entire
know
book going, oh my God.
it's not
it's,
great. I had
you
to do
can't
the
do
worst I
it.
had to do was I did a book, and it was years ago now, it's 5 years ago, and I did a book, and the the author wanted me to do all the women in the same voice I use for men. So just if it was a male character, I would just do a male voice, and if it was female, I would do a male voice again. Oh my God, how many takes? Because my I wanted to feminize my voice. When I'm not going to do it now because I don't want to start getting to voices, but I I very much I use the same voice techniques for performing women that they teach to transgender men who are wanting to feminize their voice, softening the voice, speaking from a different place in your throat, that kind of thing. And for me not to do that, it was like trying to juggle backwards. I couldn't do it. I wasn't me, and I was miserable.
Yeah, you
So
can't. You have
so
to be
be you.
yourself.
Play the small venues, but my God, be you playing them. And if you then break out and you become a stadium band, great, right? I mean, good for you. But if you don't, it's okay because this is art. We're doing it our way, and you're being all right. Providing that you're still trying to be the best you can be, providing you're still like working on your craft and doing things from the heart, and you know you have a little bit of talent, then it's okay. And that's
Yeah,
what I
working with ourselves, not change.
yeah.
As Karen Cummins would say, when I get in my head and trying to just stop it.
Mm.
Stop it.
Stop it. That's right.
Yeah,
Get out there and be you. Yay.
Kim
Yay,
says,
Kim.
I am re-energized. Thank you so much. And you know,
Thanks.
can I please add to that? Thank you, Hannibal.
Oh, well, you're
You,
welcome. Thank you,
but
my
not
friend.
just for this. You genuinely, when I met you, you re-energized my career. You gave me, it was because
Oh,
of you. It would
thank
not have
you.
happened if I had not met you that day on that 1 hour call. I would not
Well,
have
thank
had the successful year that I had after that. And I
oh,
continue to learn from you, even though I
no.
grumble quite a lot about some of the business lessons. I
No.
I do learn and slowly, and
You do.
we're all going to get there in the end. I love
Yeah,
your
we're all there. It's just a
yeah.
case of like flourishing with it and really not getting bothered about all the crap that we can't change, working on the stuff we can change, you know, keeping our energy and things like that. You know, it's a sacred thing to ourselves. I don't want to be sort of religious about it, but it's you're in it. Protect your energy. It's worth protecting. And you know,
Shay says, where can we learn more about Auditiono?
I'll go to auditiono.com. There you go.
Auditiono.com.
Audition with an O on the end.com. Thank you, Janine, coming up with that name. Janine also came up with
It is, it's
Sleuthy.
brilliant.
So Auditiono. And look, at the moment, it's just literally like I'm still it's built, but I'm still like, you know, I finished building it like 3 hours ago. So at the moment it's like, yes, the next thing is so have a bit of faith in it maybe and like sign up to it, but it's not going to be like teeming with auditions anytime soon. But I do have a plan to market this because I'm really tuned in to like the indie author community. I've got a lot of indie author friends. I know where the levers are to pull in the indie author community. And when I feel I am ready to do that, which will be soon, because I want to do it for both Royal Tally and Auditiono, I will be pulling those levers in the indie author community, and I think it's going to be okay.
And
So,
when this video comes out, it'll be in about 2 weeks anyway, so you'll be even closer
it
to
would be
the
great in two
yeah.
weeks. Yeah.
And
So yeah,
I'll
go to
put links in
Auditiono.
the about section.
So what's that? Yeah, the
I'll
link will
put
be in the
links in
yeah.
the about
So yeah,
section.
go to auditiono.com, click on sign up, take it from there. It's all very it should be very self-explanatory and easy to use and you'll get emails that tell you how it will work. And it's there's no mystery to it. Because I hate sites that I go to and I'm like, oh, how's this work? And I like things to be nice and simple. So, but if you find
That's
something wrong with it or you have a question, just reach out to me. I'm always happy to answer anything. I'm not on social media, but I am on email. And so just drop me an email.
Can't wait to hear
Happy to
about
help.
your next brilliant idea.
Ah, I'm going to come up with it. I mean, what nothing would make me happier over the next few years than to see a growing tide of small, how can I put this? Of entrepreneurial narrators going, you know what? I'm going to go out there and go, I'm going to get a deal and I'm going to do this and because it's better for doing it. I used to say that there's the so I talked to some narrators and they were and they would be sad because they weren't getting work. And I would say, well, what are you doing to get work? And they'd, well, nothing really. I'm just checking my email first thing in the morning. And I'm like, that for me is the equivalent of I want to be a fisherman. So I'm going down to the river. I'm not taking a rod or bait. I'm just going to go and stand by the river and hope the fish jump out. Right? That is that. But just think how many fish you could catch if you did take a rod down and you did bait the rod and you did just cast it
Some
out
of
one or
them
two
aren't
times.
even going to the river. Some of them are staying in their home and
Staying home and
hoping
hoping the fish get the bus to their house. Yeah, right. I mean, it's
the
like,
fish catch
yeah.
an Uber to their
That's
house.
right. Up comes an Uber. I'm come to be eaten. Yeah, I mean, but nothing would make me happier than to see a type because nothing will infuriate the corporates more than if we just take back a little bit of agency.
Yeah.
And honestly, and everybody will win if we do, because we will take back that agency and we will discover that it gives us power as a community, as a creative community. We will have that power, and the corporates won't know what to do about it. They're so used to having us by the yoke, tied into these things, and but we don't need to. We can step away. The tools are there, and if I can put out a few tools that make it easier for people to, break the chains and get the power, then I know that probably comes across as really, really socialist, and I don't care because
I
I'm all
love
about making things
socialists. I don't see
socialist
the
great
problem.
because we as a community we deserve it. We for too long we've been all stepped over, and they keep stepping on us more and more and more and more and more. And for me, I mean, my last straw happened a long time ago, but I hope this new thing that they're doing, where they're like, yeah, you got to be on this new system that absolutely shafts you. You don't even have the opportunity of opting out anymore. I hope for a lot of people that is a last straw, that it makes some people go, well, wait a minute, maybe I'll go and I'll try and do a deal on my own. And maybe some of those people will go, oh, that wasn't so bad. That's actually pretty great. Now some people will go, oh, it's terrible, but that's all right, because we're all different. So I just hope people try it, and if I can make it a little bit easier for people to try things, great, because it's half the fun. And you're in charge of your own stuff, and you're not at the mercy of other people, and nobody wants to be at the mercy of other people, do they? So there you are.
Thank you
Thank you for
so
having me
much,
on.
Hannibal. No,
This is
this
so
has
much
been
fun.
fabulous. And thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Jonathan, Tim, Kim, Shay, Janine. It's been lovely having you all
Yay,
here.
Janine.
Tim, did I say Tim? I don't want to leave anyone out. You guys are all the best. Take care. And thank you, Hannibal. As always, I feel like I can conquer the world after a chat with you.
Oh, thank you. I feel like that too. Thank you for having me on. Thank
Bye.
you, everybody.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.